Hey, I'm Justin.
This is Chaz.
Join us as we look back together, but learn to stay present.
Come with us as we rise up with hope on the horizon.
This is the podcast of extraordinary millennial gentlemen.
Today we're going to be going over, let me pull it up here, Blood, Sweat, and Pixels by Jason Schreier.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of vowels in your name. There's a lot of vowels in your name, Jason. We love it.
Yeah. Look it up. See if you can pronounce it. Let us know, because we don't know how to pronounce it.
We're so rude. We just move on.
We're just going. So a few details here. So I listened to it on Audible. And on Audible, it has 4.5 stars, 4,341 reviews.
Snaps.
I mean, it's almost, I don't know why they didn't just round to 8 hours. It's 7 hours and 58 minutes. Those last 2 minutes, they were like, no, you can't hit 8. That's just too long.
Nope.
See, this is surprising. It was released in September of 2017.
Okay.
So, been a while. But, you know, when I look at the reviews here, it's, I mean, really good.
Still widely read. I mean, pretty current reviews. Right. I mean, of course, we're reviewing it, so it must be the thing.
We just waited, however many years that is, 2017.
That's about what our probably video game adaptation life cycle is. Wouldn't you say? Yeah. We're like kind of a 3-year, 5-year. So I feel like I know we're going to get into this book review, but full disclaimer, I don't have a current gen of anything related to video game consoles. No. I just don't.
Yep. It's like, is it like $50 on OfferUp now? Can I snag it for 20? Okay, now I'll get it. Okay. Now I'll upgrade.
Exactly.
Are the games $1 yet? Okay, good.
Are they $1?
There's not even $1 value menu anymore.
No.
That's long gone. So another tidbit about this, and then I'll check in with Justin here in just a sec to see what he's been consuming. But I want to teaser here. So this book covers these games if you are into gaming at all. Uncharted 4, Diablo 3, Dragon Age Inquisition, Destiny, The Witcher 3, and then it also gets into Stardew Valley, Shovel Knight, and Pillars of Eternity, and Halo Wars. So there are some big names,
huge titles in there
reviewed in this. Yes. Oh, and the surprising Star Wars 1313.
Yeah.
Didn't even know about that till the book. So
exactly.
We will dive into that shortly. But so what's been going on this last week, 2 weeks? What have you been consuming?
Yes.
How's that been going?
You know, as you know, I've been traveling part of the last couple of weeks. So a lot of nature, fishing, riding, shooting in the mountains. Just good times. Took the kids fishing for the first time and caught some fish. So that's rewarding.
That's the hardest part about the first time. That's a lot of pressure. You're like, they're going to hate this if they don't catch a fish.
We caught them and we gutted them and we ate them. In the same day.
Trout? What'd you guys get?
Yeah. Some rainbows. Yep.
Nice.
So that was that. In the most immediate last week, though, after finishing this book, I have a retro console. I'll just say I really don't want to be arrested.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's illegal whalebone.
Yeah.
But it is a console that plays old titles, ROMs. And one of those ROMs is Diablo, which is Spanish for the Diablo, the devil. So, guys, full disclaimer, I know there's probably a lot of gamers out there who are listening. I have never played the Diablo series. I'm a huge fan of Blizzard, old school.
Oh, yeah. Blizzard's great.
Warcraft 2, Warcraft 1, StarCraft. Probably days of my life. Days, you know, spent in those games. Diablo is after some of those titles. This is the first Diablo, and this is actually the console version. I've been playing that and rather enjoying it. It's pretty good time. Also, I have been reading the second book in a series that I really thought I'd never read again.
Yeah.
Go back to. Yeah. Justin Cronin, The Passage, kind of post-apocalyptic vampire, not
zombies.
Twilight,
Okay.
kind of zombies, sorta. Long books. Bro writes like 700-page books.
Yeah.
So
that's commitment.
Yes, it is. So for the first book, which is called The Passage, I actually read it. And now I'm on the second book in the series called The 12. And I'm reading at 1.5, I'm listening at 1.5 speed. And I'm getting through it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and you still got your commute. You got your time to plug it in. I do. Listen and,
yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah.
What about you, man?
Good stuff. I've kind of been pushing pause, and maybe when people get to this episode, this will be like in the past, but I've kind of let just the political arena kind of not consume me, but I am very interested. Again, my data hat, we've talked about this many times. Yes. I'm very interested in the numbers that are coming out and the statistics behind it. I'm not going to go into any further because I don't want to get all political on this, but it just drew me in, and it's very interesting. I'll leave it at that, and whatever may come of it. Just wanted to. I mean, it's what's happening right now. I wanted to be a part of it, and I knew. I mean, it's kind of, I'm sacrificing some other things by choice. And so I was just like, this only happens every 4 years. I'm going to live through this. I'm going to be present in this space, stay up to date, doing a lot of my own research when I hear things from either side, and trying to find the data, the truth behind, whatever the media news.
Props on you, man.
Side. So I was just like, I've never done that. I never really felt I did my homework ever before. And so that's been fun. Like nice. When they say, oh, we saw this, like I go and try to find that actual paper or the full video unedited or whatever and watch it to confirm myself.
You dive into the truth of current events. I run into Diablo.
Diablo in the woods.
We run in different directions.
Yes.
Again, my bad. You go. Tell me.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. I lost my train of thought. Did you put a question in the teleprompter? Because I lost it. No, the only other thing I was thinking about was
you're going way off script.
I'm so we don't even have a script, please.
Okay, that's right. Good call.
We are off script always. Just enjoying. Other than that, just the little like gymnastic stuff. My son's getting a bit more into it. And cool. I would say that's the other thing I'm consuming lately on YouTube. I came across bodybuilders try gymnastics.
Oh my gosh.
Or bodybuilders try fill in the blank. And it is, I'm laughing. And it's cool stuff. I mean, gymnastics, like they're just, they're the elitist athletes, I think. And they make the hardest things in the world look easy. And so you see these like big guys like trying to do a pole vault or the parallel bars, or one was just trying to learn a backflip, and I'm like, never done a backflip, let me see how he teaches him. And so that's been fun. And then we go down in the basement with my son, and he's getting a bit more into it. He's trying some other moves. Like the other day he's like, hey, lift me up there, I want to do a few pull-ups and stuff, and so, assisted. But
nice.
So just
you lifted him up and you cued the Rocky music, Rocky IV soundtrack, if you guys don't know. Just played it on loop.
So that's been fun.
Nice.
Yeah. Not much outdoors time, but I'll try and get more of that this week. I think what you're motivating me to, get out and get the sun rays on. Get some vitamin D.
In Washington, it's so rare. You got to get it when you can.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Because it's coming. If you guys don't know, every day this week forecast rain. Welcome to Seattle. It's all good.
Yeah.
No worries.
So weather is a great topic, but we've had like this week of 70, 75.
Oh, are you serious?
It has been nuts. Like we were freezing last week, and then we're hitting 70, 75. So I hit 18 holes on Saturday, and like,
attaboy.
It started in the 60s, but then it like heated up, and it was. It's just a beautiful day. So it was good time.
That's amazing.
And it was like a full on yeah, well, it was a full-on dad's like golfing. So it was me and two other guys. We
Yeah.
all brought our kids. So
okay.
one had two, the other we just had our one each, and we each had our own carts, and let them like drive on our laps and stuff. But yeah, complete like family outing thing. Let the wives kind of do what they wanted at home. So that was good.
Dad golf, nice.
Dad golf.
That's a thing. Check it out on the podcast. Dad golf.
Do some dad.
Chad's
golf.
Dad
golf. Yeah.
Hashtag dad golf.
Instagram. Whenever we do that.
That's what we need.
Instagram. Yeah.
That's right. You guys who don't know, we're gonna be on Instagram soon.
Coming to a theater near you.
That's right. In a world, it's coming. Dad golf. Hashtag dad golf.
Yeah, they take over the world. It's a big thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Watch out, Top Golf. We're coming. Dad golf.
It's a new thing. Babysit and play golf at the same time. It's not babysitting. Sorry, I should have said that.
Okay, I gotta say this, guys.
Yes.
Every once in a while, I do tell my wife, it's like, well, I babysat the kids the other day. She's like, it's not babysitting because they're your own children. I'm like, well,
it's
supervising.
We've all heard it. It just comes out
babysitting. It's babysitting. Okay, honey, if you're listening to the podcast, much love, but it's babysitting.
All right, so back to Blood,
ladies.
Sweat, and Pixels. We will shift gears here. So yeah, give me your take overall. I know you finished more recently than me, so prime me up. Let me know where we're going. Again, we got all these top hot games. Some I didn't even know though. Others are smaller.
Yep,
groups.
same.
And so which overall take? Let's dive into it.
Wow. So I love the structure of the book for one. Maybe it's kind of my somewhat ADHD, but reading through, for you guys who don't know, he covers a chapter, and in each chapter is a different game in development. And so I loved that variety. I don't know, you guys don't beat me up on this, but definitely let us know. I believe the majority of the games that were covered in the book were somewhat contemporary of each other in terms of their development. I also thought that was very interesting. Yeah. So you mentioned a couple of the titles, Chaz.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but have a couple biases. Not because I'm huge fans of any one of those particular games, but there was one game in particular that everything that was going on behind the scenes absolutely made sense in the final product. You and I were players of this game.
Yep. I was like, I know which one you're talking about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that to me was fascinating. What I loved about the book is you really didn't have to be an expert in anything: history, video games, engineering, design, business. The author did just such a great job of kind of hitting the notes of what these particular games and their development were going through, and took enough time to give you some context, I should say, to what some of those terms meant and how the process worked. But he didn't exaggerate any one particular. It's like the chapter on publishing, the chapter on storyboarding, I just loved that the pace was fast and furious, but he wasn't diving into such a depth on any technical background that I was kind of like, I'm lost through this whole section. I didn't feel that at all in this book. Did you?
Yeah, no, it really followed. It was very logical to me, at least.
Yep.
Like it was like, okay, this is how they started. This is what it looks like in the middle, and how they have to iterate.
Great point.
And then how they, sprint to the end, and then how they delay, and then how they sprint to the end and to delay.
That's right. And it's still not over. When it's released, it's not over. Right.
Yeah.
The bug fixes. I thought those were some great details to show you that it's not done when it's released.
Yeah, would have never known any of these details. And as not a huge gaming consumer, but having played, at least the one title and have a history with gaming, like all that was kind of, the man behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz type thing. Like, nothing you ever hear about. And you always, and for me, an interesting piece, because growing up, I was always like, oh, that kind of be cool to be like a game tester. Or, you're always like, I should build a game. That would be fun. Yeah. That type of stuff. So those thoughts. And then to see the reality, and especially like the entrepreneur type game where, like, especially that one, I think that would, I'm trying to remember which one that was, but how he went at it alone for the time he did and how much it consumed him. And then to hear, and not only for his case, but for many others, like when games take off, these people become like celebrities in the gaming world and have all this money that they never had before, and they feel guilty for that, like, and having to go through, so that to me was a very interesting side of things with how I kind of grew up imagining and thinking about the gaming industry.
I totally agree. I felt like the book, especially in that chapter, but also in the others where you talk, where they cover and they talk about those initial kind of geniuses behind some of these games and these series.
Right.
Talk about how these projects become sometimes pet projects.
Yep.
And sometimes that blows up the organization that's trying to develop it or publish it. In some of these cases, there's really big money behind some of these games.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to me how much power those publishers and other entities wielded at different times just to go, we're doing this now.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, wow, you just threw away how many hundreds of hours of work and, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars in some of these games with their scale. That to me was very interesting. So full disclosure, guys, I can't help. Some of the aspects of this book were so interesting to me because I am a project manager by trade. And so I've really appreciated that each of these storylines about these games in development really hit a lot of those notes about change management, about closing out, about monitoring, controlling quality. I mean, Chaz, I know that's a strong background you have as an engineer. What did you think about some of those sections about the bugs in particular?
Yeah, it made sense to me, especially how, and I think the author, again, Jason, does a great job at diving in the details of how complex and how cutting edge and how ever changing and the huge team as far as cross functionality that this takes, again, back to project management.
The collaboration is kind of mind numbing.
It is so massive. You're like, and as a consumer, you're always like, well, why can't they do that yet? Like, why? I mean, it's like, we have amazing technology. Like, why isn't this, da, 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 da.
Why is there ever a bug? Right?
Exactly.
Why is there ever a portion that glitches, that the story doesn't have good continuity?
Yeah.
This book will change your perspective. I think most gamers have probably felt like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if anything, it may give them and the industry a bit more grace, like to say, hey, okay, I could see why that's still in there. It doesn't destroy the game. It's a teeny bug, like that type of stuff. Like, and it also makes me think back to one of my good friends, Sterling. He's a big artist in different ways. And he was always, he told me once, like, you never really finish art. You just you kind of get to a point where you're like, well, it's good enough. It's not going to ever be perfect. I mean, that makes sense to most people, but to the artist, it's like they live their life in these details for that time frame to build this, whether that's a drawing, a painting, a photo,
creators,
all these things, these creators. Yeah. And they just have to get to a point where it's good enough to ship. It's not, I wouldn't say it's your MVP, like minimal viable product, because it's well past that.
Yes.
By the time at least these games ship, but it's never really done. And so that aspect to me for, the producers and those guys that came up with the ideas for these games and everything. And the whole quality side, like hearing how many hundreds of hours, like, do you want to play a game where you have to run around, run into every wall while jumping, grabbing different items out of your backpack or whatever the game may be to see if any combination of those. The funniest one to me was the one about the horse and the sun, and how he loved the horse so much that when he hopped off, he found this glitch. And it was just like, they never,
one out of maybe 1,000 or 10,000 attempts, everybody.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's just so minuscule. And it's just like, it's kind of funny. It was just like, oh, it's the horse. Like, okay. So yeah, from quality side, you got to read it. I think it's, if you're into gaming, any of this kind of stuff, it just really opens your mind, gives you a different perspective, and you're like, wow, that much goes into it. Okay, I get, this was the other thing I didn't really understand. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, the new consoles, it's like you spend how many hundreds of dollars to get one, and then you're
Right.
paying $60 to $80 for these new games. And you're like, what? Like $60? Like, that's what I mean. And that's maybe why there's some of you out there, maybe like us, where you're like, I'm going to stay a gen back. And so I'm kind of excited, right? The PS5,
Right.
the new Xbox are all launching. It's like, hey, the PS4s are dropping. All right, I'm going to get some, you know, some upgrades from my PS3.
The casual, very much casual gamer. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's not. And some of you maybe are more into it, and we're not, you know, knocking that. Saying, you know, if that's your life, that's cool. This is just where we're at. This is what we do. And so
we got to have a podcast, people.
Yeah.
You can't just play games. Although that'd be a lot of fun.
I know there's podcasts out there where you watch people play games. I Google those people when I like,
oh,
my
nice.
son asked me, like, how do we pass this level? How do we do this? Like, I'm glad you guys are out there recording your gameplay and we get to find
That's true.
So that's
walkthroughs, props.
Yeah. So
I completely agree. Again, guys, my background professionally is a little bit different than Chaz's, but man, it just hits so many notes on this book. If you've played video games, if you had a period in your life where that was appealing to you, again, 2017, I'm going to suspect maybe a couple of these games still have titles coming out, like in that series. Like I know The Witcher, for example, is still incredibly popular. Halo has a firm footing in most gamers catalogs, I know. And then some of the other series, maybe you guys wouldn't have heard of, but the stories behind the development are each unique. I really appreciated that about the book. And nobody was really a bad guy. That was fascinating to me, where there were different development teams, and different development teams, at times, the creator was his or her worst enemy when it came to the game. And then other times it was like a large publisher, like a Microsoft or Activision or Disney, right? But even then, it wasn't really one person. And the author does such a great job to kind of say, hey, this is how this industry is. You could have, 10,000 hours into the development of a game. And if a publisher or a creator or some part of this massive speeding freight train goes off the rail, or somebody just shuts it off, it's done. It's just fascinating to me that behind the scenes, that the industry, like you said, Chaz, what would be an ideal job when you're 10, 12 years old? Man, I'd love to be in video games. It's like, I'm way too conservative, looking for stability. Now, after reading this book, to ever venture into an industry like that. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, and if you're out there and you're like, man, this last week of work, or maybe this last month, maybe the whole work from home thing, you've been like, man, I've been putting in a few 12-hour days, or, I'm feeling a little burned out. It just does not compare. Not saying we should compare everything, right? I'm just giving the example here. You may feel a little better hearing that they work like 60, 80, 100-hour weeks, months on end. And depending on how long their sprint is, like sleeping, like they're like, I know I'm not seeing my family. I know I'm not seeing my kids. Like, and sometimes at the end of that, they get maybe what they were hoping for with a big payout when the game launches. And other times they're doing that, and the thing turns around and gets shut down, or their studio closes, or any number of things. And
incredible.
And it's just like, they have to change on it. And I think, again, big scheme of things, right? There's so many different personalities in the world, so many different unique people. Some people like that, and they relish it, and they're drawn to it. And I'm glad they are, because that actually helps produce games. That's just, I wouldn't at this point, understanding that, like, like I may do like eventually get into some sort of small time, maybe an app game for phones or something, like Flappy Bird 3030 or I don't know.
Here we go. Like the Terminator version of Flappy Bird.
Yeah.
I like it.
Come out with laser beams shooting out of his head. I don't know.
Flap
laser beams. bump the bike.
Love it.
But yeah, the other thing for me on those same lines, and this for me, I don't know if you have a different one on your take, but for me, the big surprise of this was the details of Star Wars 1313.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, I was, fairly decent Star Wars fan. Always, Lucas Arts, Lucas.
Oh, big
design.
fan of Lucas Arts. Yep.
Yeah, like big fan. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And then to hear some of the background story between, him wanting to retire in Disney was interesting. And how they were developing this and just how much heart and soul these teams were putting into 1313, that it just sounded awesome. And they tried everything to make that come out and be able to make it, and it just couldn't. So I mean, we got to the demo, it went to E3, all this time, all these resources, sounds like great storylines, really cool in between certain movies, like certain, and it would like, to tell that story would just be cooler to play that. And but like you said, just kind of got the plug pulled on it and couldn't come back from it.
And there's not an evil person there. Like there's not a villain in that situation. That's what's really interesting to me, guys out there listening, is when you pick this book up, have an open mind. I think if you've played video games before, it's going to broaden your horizon regardless. Mm-hmm. But I have a big surprise for me. Definitely the 1313, but because you already talked about, I'd say very, very close second in terms of surprises was just that entrepreneur plugging away for 4 years.
5
years.
It's that one, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Stardew Valley.
Yes.
Or was it Shovel Knight?
Nope. Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley was the solo guy. Yeah.
Just an incredible story. That was surprising to me, guys, because like you said, Chaz, an artist and a creator has a dedication to a project, to his or her art form in such a way that feels like, if you guys listen to that part and count up the hours that this person spent developing that game, it was literally years of that person's life. What else can you equate that to? Maybe a pet, a child, a relationship, and good on this person. It's a great story because at the end of that, this gentleman becomes, fairly affluent. He really reaps some fruits, harvest, right? A lot, no pun intended, Stardew Valley. He really gleans the fortune that he rightly deserves as a creator, but it was a surprise to me because of that depth of dedication, the level of detail in that person's story. And it made me sit back and think, I bet there's a ton of stories out there, people who have developed years into a game, and it never comes to fruition. It never makes it. So
it's like that book you're writing that never gets finished or published, or
that's right.
Very similar for maybe some other things out there. So let me ask this, and then maybe we can rate the book.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm ready to rate. Definitely.
Which of these titles, I'm curious, did you either go look up, or are you curious enough to go look up, maybe
to go play
eventually, and to go play?
That's a good question. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to do like a total Heisman move and skirt that, because I don't think there's one there that really jumped out to me, other than a game of great, notorious reputation, I think, between you and I, Destiny. That was a game where you and I bought that not right off the bat, not early adapters,
right?
But Chaz and I went through, this is years ago, right? We went through a string of co-op online games, primarily on consoles. And that was something we would do socially. We both had little kids at that point, babies, in fact. And so it was a matter of being able to connect and get together and play. And we got through a few titles. Destiny looked like it was the next co-op to play. It was just a no-brainer.
The hype, everything. I remember.
Incredibly highly rated, hyped, promoted game. And I'm not going to lie, man, when I'm reading through this book, I'm remembering that 4 or 5 gigabyte first patch.
Yeah.
I remember texting you going, I got the game in, it's in the console. It says I have like a 5 megabyte patch. And you're like, yeah, I already got through that. And I'm like, your internet's a lot faster than mine, but amazing. And then guess what? You get the game and you're like, I don't know what the 5 gigs got me. I'm just able to play the game. It was a short game. It felt like a ripoff because it just kind of pushed you straight into DLC. Like, well, download this, and the story continues. So I'm being long-winded to answer your question.
Yeah.
I would pick Destiny back up, given what I know about it now, and try it again. Maybe that's surprising to you, but that's the title that stuck out to me that I would give a shot.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised, not having played any of the expansion packs really, because we never got that far. And with some of the history it says there, I mean, it is curious to see how much they tried to get back to it, because it sounds like you know, they were hoping with some of these expansion packs to get back, you know, what they initially had thought. So that would be interesting for me as well. Mine, I'm kind of a toss up. I was the one I actually did go look up. I looked up Stardew Valley and Shovel Knight, those two, because I was like, you know, Shovel Knight was kind of the
Shovel Knight did sound interesting.
The twist,
the retro
on
gamer
Mario, the flat 2D graphics, and so I was like, oh, that I wonder what that looks like. Like, I was picturing a lot of it in my head while listening to it, like what did Shovel Knight actually look like, and those types of things. So another one, I like you had mentioned Diablo. I'm kind of interested in Diablo though. That would be my other one, because I was, as they described
I think you'd thoroughly enjoy it. I'm playing Diablo 1 again, everybody. That's what I've been consuming in the last week. I would say as a result of this game. So yeah, I'll have to, you know, we'll edit out that 5-minute response I gave about my, you know, moaning and bemoaning Destiny. Diablo. Yeah, I did pick up Diablo and start to play that. Sorry, go ahead.
It just sounded good from the way they described it. And I had, I don't know, maybe the name, and I just thought it would be like, you know, blood gore, just boring, like shoot 'em up type of a game where it's like, oh, well, there's a bunch of those, like pick your flavor. Right. But now I'm like, oh, I might give that a shot. So that's what I'm thinking. But okay, so out of what's our scale? 1 to 10, I think is what we do.
1 to 10, typically. Guys. Our scale. 1 is basically the book offended you, and you know, scarred you for life.
You returned it 10, and asked for a refund. That's a 1.
That's right. 10, guys, is just shout it from the rooftops. Tell everybody you know. Where's this book at for you?
I mean, I really enjoyed it. And if he goes into, you know, other topics like this would probably be an author I would look up again. I would refer it to friends if they asked. I don't know if I'd go out, you know, shouting it around. So I'm between 8 or 9. So I'll give it maybe 8.5 just because I can't decide.
Nice. Solid score. I'm right there with you. I was going to give this an 8. For my buddies or friends who I know play or dabble in games, this is going to be a must read for them. This isn't necessarily for coworkers, you know, some of my other acquaintances or friends who not necessarily are anti-gaming, but maybe don't have a history in gaming, or, you know, kind of stick to like mobile apps and stuff like that. Anybody who's played PC console games that are kind of in my circle, I'm referring this book to them. Absolutely. It's a great read. I would definitely read it again. May come a time where I do pick it up again, but I'll definitely be looking up this author for any of his continued works. I agree with you.
Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, if anybody's interested, have read the book, or have other recommendations, you know, leave us some comments below. That would be great to hear you guys' thoughts, and maybe give us some insights into other books we can add to our book review list. That'd be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for taking the time, everybody. We hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. Be sure to subscribe to continue to get more content of extraordinary quality. See you next time.